Welcome to Zoom training. In this video, we're going to walk through how to schedule and set up a meeting in Zoom. So I've already gone ahead and logged in. I'm going to start by clicking schedule the meeting. So I click this button and it takes me to my login screen. And at this point, you're going to want to go ahead and give your meeting a name, something that's memorable. You know what it is. People you're going to invite, they understand what that meeting is. So it could be a weekly team meeting. And then if you have a description or like quick bullet points of the agenda, go ahead and put that in there, especially if you're doing something like a webinar and you want to make sure people understand the scope of it. This is a great tool to use. If you're doing a repetitive meeting that you use a lot, you might want to set up a template, and I can show you how to do that at the end when we go through this process. But if you have a template, you would select it from this list here, and that'll sort of go ahead and pre-populate some information in there for you. Then we get into the actual time for the meeting. So you go ahead and use the little date picker to then select when you want to do the meeting. Select what time, AM. It does default to AM. So if you go ahead and put 3 in here, it'll default to 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. So make sure you change that so you don't have any early morning meetings. So double check that. You're going to want to go ahead and decide how long that meeting is, especially if you're sharing Zoom meetings. It's important so you don't overlap. It will not kick you out if you do go over, so it's an important thing to know. So do that. Pick your time zone. If it is a recurring meeting, like you do it every day or every week, you can go ahead and note that here. You can also do it as no fixed time. So if you just want to have like a standing, like quick chat meeting, you can do that by hitting no fixed time. If you do that, it takes all of that away. But I'm going to go ahead and undo that because it's not a recurring meeting that we want to do here. But there you go. Then we get into some of the security pieces of this, and a lot of this is going to default to best practices. So things like meeting ID, go ahead and generally automatically do that. You can do a personal one if you want to, but if that's really up to you. We get into security, go ahead and do a passcode and a waiting room. That really helps avoid any Zoom trolls coming through. If you need extra security, this is a very private matter, you might want to require authentication to join. So that's just something added if you need it, but it does add another layer to make it harder for people to get in, so you want to minimize that. Then we get to video. You want to go ahead and decide what this is. If you're hosting some type of webinar and it's a large group and you don't necessarily want a ton of engagement, go ahead and default all your videos to off. But if you're doing some type of smaller meeting and you actually want the interactivity, go ahead and turn them on. That lets people then turn them off if they don't want to, but you're not having to ask people to turn their cameras on. You're helping just facilitate that. Same with audio. Go ahead and do both. That lets people decide if they're going to use their phone, use their computer. Also helps if they have problems with technology in the middle of getting signed on, that they can flip between the two and don't have to engage with you to troubleshoot that if you're presenting. So that just streamlines it for you. Then we get into the meeting options. Typically allow participants to join anytime, unless of course there is like a cutoff, you don't want people coming in, then you can turn that off. But that helps people come in and out. If you are doing some large group, go ahead and select the mute participants upon entry. However, if you want people to be able to network at the beginning, make sure that's not checked. If you're going to go ahead and pre-assign breakout rooms, that's where this is going to be. At this point, you can create rooms, you can import the CSV. If you're going to do it in the meeting, don't worry about it. You don't have to check that. If you also want to automatically record the meeting, this is a feature that we use a lot because Zoom does a great job with transcripts. So you don't have to, if you're a smaller team or just one of you doing it, you don't have to take notes. You can be active in that meeting and then go back and look at that, either recording or the transcript. Usually default to that on your computer, but you can do it on the cloud. In the cloud, there are some limitations due to just the amount of storage that Zoom allows you. So if you're going to do a lot of meetings, you're going to have to go in and clean out that cloud a lot. So it's just easier a lot of times just to go ahead and record them to your computer and file them in whatever file solution you're using. So that's usually what I recommend. It's just better practice with maintenance. And then, especially if you're doing a local group, go ahead and approve or block entries from specific regions. If you know it's a community meeting, just do that. You don't have to worry about it. That just also helps with those trolls. If you know you're going to have other people helping you as host, you can go ahead and put their emails in there, and that'll just go ahead and streamline that. So once you have all that filled out, you can go ahead and hit save. And it'll go ahead and take you to just a meeting summary of what you just set up. So if you need to, you can go ahead and start the meeting. You can also add it to any calendars. If you want to go ahead and share it with people, this is where you would It'll populate a window so that you can then copy that and put it in a calendar invite or into an email, and you have all of that. It also gives you a summary of all the things that you selected. If anything you want to change, you can change it right here. Just hit edit and it'll take you basically back to that screen that we were just looking at in regards to that. So let's go back to what we were looking at here. And this is also where you would save it as a template. So you need to fully set one up if you're going to then use it as a recurring template. Like if you have a board meeting and you really like that format and it takes a little bit of time off, that you don't have to do it every time, go ahead and hit save to template. We'll touch on polls and live stream in another video, but that should get you guys started.